Hey guys, welcome back to Valley, and I know it's quite late for this, but I've now kind of just gotten around to it. But what I wanted to show you guys today is the behind the scenes of editing How Star Wars Could Have Gone, Part 3. Um, and I did a live action behind the scenes where I showed the actual filming process of it, which came out a couple months ago. But now I wanted to show you the editing process, which arguably took the same amount, if not longer, this time around than the filming process. But basically, I originally talked over this right here. So the first technique I did here was a technique that I've seen used by many stop motion YouTubers before, but I'm pretty sure the first tutorial I watched on it was by Fancy Pants. If you know your stop motion world on YouTube, then you know who he is. He doesn't do much anymore, but yeah. So basically, how I would do the shots with where Jango Fett was flying, or there's a jumping sequence that needs to be used, I would just take a clean frame that's under it, and if the camera doesn't move, then you just need one clean frame. And then you take the shots that happen afterwards and erase um, on top of those shots. And so you put your clean frame under there so it looks like the same shot as you can see here. So basically, that's how I made Jango Fett fly. He was on some pillars, and there was a clean slate behind there. And I would erase the pillar out of the way, and then go back in here with the selection tool to make sharper edit cuts here. I would just basically, you know, like rotate it where it was at the same angle as his legs, and then I would delete what's under there. And yeah, so what's kind of a pain in the ass is obviously you have to go through each frame to delete the pillar under him. And I think I did it in maybe like 10 or 12 frames. It wasn't anything crazy, but some people who are pretty serious about doing stop motion probably have, I mean, 30 plus frames that they're doing with that. So yeah, that's pretty insane. But basically, I would use that square tool and then go back in with the eraser tool to soften up those edges to make it look more natural. And that's pretty much it. Then I would go around it to make that green match the green in the background. Because as you can, if you look really closely, the square is a little bit different. But yeah, I would just go through with that eraser and just like erase around it, and then basically match that shadow where you don't really notice it anymore. Like right there, it's kind of in the background now, and yeah, that's how much we end up erasing by the end right there. But yeah, that clean slate under there, it just blends right in with it. You cannot tell that there is another picture behind there. But yeah, that's basically how I did that first technique. It's not anything too crazy, but yeah. Alright, so this sequence was very important to me to explain, because ever since I was little and I had seen other stop motions with lasers in them, I wanted to know how they did that. And the simple answer here is After Effects. It's really simple when it gets down to it, but I just had no clue how they did it at the time. And it was something that I really wanted to do for How Star Wars could have gone Part 2, but yeah, I had no clue. So I figured out how to do it for Part 3, obviously, and this is the opening scene here, the big fight scene on the bridge. And basically all I did was take I searched for a laser bolt like Star Wars PNG on Google Images, I think, and I, you know, made it the color I wanted, and then pasted it into After Effects here. And all I did was keyframe the position and go like 4 frames forward, and then move it off screen forward. So then what you get here is it shooting off screen. And this is the very beginning of me experimenting with that. So like as you can see, like a frame later, it's almost all the way off screen. So like I end up moving the off-screen part on the final keyframe back so that you can see it more on screen. Like, you can tell that the laser's actually there more. So that's something that I experimented with. And basically, I made that in on one layer, and then I just copy and pasted it over and over again. And I would just move the beginning of the laser to the tip of the barrel of the gun, and then in the frame that I wanted, and then I would just put it off screen forward. So that is why the whole scene kind of ends up being like a little bit too many lasers on screen at once. It's just like, holy cow, lasers. That the reason it looks like that is because every single laser was actually shot by the animation. Like, every single time a droid shoots, I would put a laser bolt there, and it would shoot forward. And that's why it looks so dramatic and crazy in that scene. And yeah, and of course that was if the character was on screen, that I would put that there. Obviously, once the droids were off screen, then I would just kind of put 3 or 4 that would continuously shoot forward. Let's say if I skip to 5003, that you can see that that's where I would do that, is if the droids were off screen, then I would just put one at the beginning and kind of guess where they would shooting, and it would shoot like over the clones' heads and stuff. And this whole scene, including the red lasers and the blue lasers from the clones, took me around like 6 hours to do. Basically a full work day of animation. This scene was definitely basically the most intense scene in the stop motion when it comes down to it, because there was just so many moving parts happening at the same time. Just every single trooper I had to move each frame. And the way I shot with the camera moving, there's me changing my music again. The way I shot with the camera moving, I actually moved the bridge that they were standing on. So I pulled it forward a little bit each frame to make it look like the camera was panning, but in reality, the entire platform was moving forward. But yeah, that's basically how I did the scene. I plan to make a video of me actually breaking down the entire process of doing this, because I never found a stop motion when I was tutorial when I was little on how to do it, and it's very important to me. It was very important to me when I found out how to do this, so I feel like it's worth showing other people how to do it, and I'm sure other people want to know how to do it. But now you know, if you haven't ever seen it before. But yeah, essentially I just copy and pasted the lasers over and over again. And if we skip to 1710, basically you see me at the beginning still. There's a laser at the, of course, there's a laser positioned at the end of each barrel of the droids that are about to shoot. And that was if the gun was facing horizontal, that means that they were about to shoot, and that's where I would put the laser bolt. And when it goes upwards, that means they are already shot. And that's how I did this scene. So the next scene I have here is me basically keying out the green screen for which the Death Star was standing on. And I wish I had more of this here, but I'm going to click play now. But basically, for the entire stop motion was essentially shot on green screen. There was only one scene. There was only, okay, not one scene. There was only like 3 or 4 scenes that did not involve keying. But as you can see with Keylight and After Effects, it's pretty simple. You take the screen color picker, then you click on the green, and it's boom, it's gone. And then obviously I play with the clipping with the black and the white to try to get a better key so it shows all of the Death Star but no green, stuff like that. And yes, this is actually my personal Death Star. And I brought it down to the set and I took a picture of it on the green screen. And also one thing I did here is I rarely did this with scenes, but this is done with the Death Star because I just didn't need the rest of the screen. But I also took the pen tool and I cropped a circle basically around it so that there's no excess green on the sides or other picture in it that I would need to key out. There's no point for me to key all of that out. It's just better to make a circle around what you want to key out and then just green screen key it. But yes, this is the Death Star that you see that outside the window that Jango and Boba are looking at the end. And if you're wondering how I did that, we can skip to 320, where I'm messing with it here. But obviously, I shot Boba and Jango looking outside to a green screen initially. And then so all I did was key out that green screen, and boom, you have the Death Star in the background here. I thought it was really cool the first time I saw it, because it's just like, they were looking at nothing, obviously, before, but just a layer of a Death Star and then a layer of space, and boom, I had what I wanted. And then basically for the rest of the clip here, I just play with like how far away I want the Death Star to be, how slow I want the panning of the camera to be. If I skip to like 11:10, it's rendering it out there, but that's basically the final, pretty close to the final shot that we get. It's zooming in and panning up at the same time. And then I end up adding a clip on the end, obviously, a static image of them looking out, and just zoom in on that. But yeah, that's basically how I did that scene. That's just basic keying. The camera pan was actually done in practical, which I could have done a little bit better. I kind of rushed it, to be honest. I should have done a way slower pan. Also, probably not even done a physical pan, just probably should have done the pan inside of After Effects here in hindsight, because it would have looked a lot smoother. But I think it definitely got my point across on what's happening here. And this scene is obviously replicated from the end of Episode 3, when Darth Vader and Lord Sidious are looking out upon the Death Star. But yes, that is basically it for this sequence. Alright. So, this next sequence I wanted to share because I knew that it was going to be the biggest problem. When I first envisioned the stop motion, all I knew is that I wanted a shot of the Republic cruiser in the space, and then I wanted it to pan down upon the battle happening upon the bridge. But anyways, basically, I took a picture of the Republic cruiser on a green screen. Then I took a picture of the battle on a green screen, and I end up basically being able to create this. Now, this scene, I really tried to make it as good as I could, but we got some beautiful thunder outside happening right now. This scene, I really did try to make it look as good as I could, because the stop motion filming of the bridge was not very good. It was one of the first things I filmed. It was done really quick, and if you look at it closely at what's happening on that bridge, it's pretty bad. There's just some droids pushing forward and just a ton of clones dying. And then we cut to a shot of where the clones are kind of fine, but also, there's shadows taking place on the green screen that then are definitely in the background there from those little UTATs. I don't know what they're called. Those little spider droid things. why would I call them UTATs? Anyway, but yes, I essentially put. Also, there was some great cloud fog, like moving things that I got from YouTube, I think, that I ripped from YouTube, whether on a green screen. And that made it look a lot better. It makes it look a lot more immersive and like it basically adds a lot more to the atmosphere of the scene. And what's funny is the stands that the stop motion that the bridge is sitting on are keyed in too. If you look closely, the bridge is transparent enough where that you can see through it, and there's uh, basically those are the platforms right there. But yes, the reason this scene was so fast is because I didn't want people to look at it very long, and also you can see how blurry those clouds are right there. But so here's the Republic frigate, and again I used the pen tool to basically go around it where I wanted. It was sitting on a stand, so I had to key really close to there, and you can't even tell once I did that. So that actually turned out pretty good. Also, the idea here is that Jango Fett's on this ship. I don't think many people would have guessed that when watching the stop motion, but Jango Fett is on this ship. He's already commandeered this ship as a clone commander. So then we go down here to this area, and basically how I did this is a really great tutorial. It teaches you how to use the camera and a null thing to control the pan of the camera. So basically there's a lot of smoke and mirrors here, but obviously if I change it like that, I'd have to render out everything again, and I don't want to do that. But yes, basically this square moving here, that's what controls the camera. If we go to frames here, which is the stop motion part of the film, where stop motion is actually taking place, you can see I used the pen tool to try to key out as much as I can. The reason it stops right here is obviously because it walks forward. It gets pretty close right here. I guess I could have made it a little bit closer, but you get the point. And then I keyed right under it, and put the platforms under there. That's what these are. And those were on the green screen too, so I just keyed out the green screen on those, and I ended up making an okay looking shot. I really wish I would have recorded the sequence of me putting this together, like a lot of other sequences for behind the scenes for this, but I'm just going back through it and basically showing you what I did, which was quite a while ago now at this point. But yes, this is how I did scene 2 of the stop motion. This is the last thing I wanted to show you about in the behind the scenes sequence, and I'm really glad if you guys have stuck with me this far. I really wanted it to be basically me casually talking to you about how I did things. But basically, how the stop motion was composed is I did all of the animation editing with inside After Effects files for each scene. And that ended up being 16 scenes when I was done. And I didn't really limit them to like a certain frame count or something. It's just when I thought that was a single scene that then I was done. And a lot of that was when I would switch the camera. It was usually a new scene. But yeah, basically I would make each scene in one After Effects file, and then I would then export it as a AVI. And each AVI was then put into this giant Premiere file, and that's where I took all the dialogue and put it in here, and all the music and all the sound effects. It's all in here in this file, and man, it is something. 9 lines of audio here. I did end up putting all of the video tracks into one sequence. There was also a lot of additional cutting that I did with the video tracks to then make them sync up with dialogue sequences. But yeah, this is everything right here. But yeah, I'd open up with the big intro that I had been planning to make for several months. And I was really proud to fit it in there right at the end here. Because I was cramming to get this in. I'm like, I am putting this out in 2016, and I got it in New Year's Eve at 9 o'clock. I exported it, and there's only one thing I messed up on, and that I didn't mean to mess up on, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's not within the actual stop motion part. But yeah, I did the title sequence just like I did with 2. I mean, not with the same program, but I made it look the same. It's playing a little choppy here, obviously, because I'm playing this off of external hard drive. I can't even believe it's playing this at all. Yeah, this is basically it, guys. I just put it all together in here. Got all the sound effects from various websites and YouTube. And the music is all from Halo 5 Guardians. So I got away with that, and I'm glad that I was able to. But yeah, this is pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes sequence of viewing kind of how I put the stop motion together and how I made it. I'm really glad that you guys have, if you have watched all of them from the beginning, I can't believe that you stuck with me to watch that, and I'm really glad that you have seen how far I've come. Definitely looking back at how, like, I'm not proud of how Star Wars Could Have Gone Part 1 as a stop motion. Like, I never really thought it would be this thing. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoy this little behind-the-scenes editing sequence. I'm going to upload a separate video, hopefully in a while, of how I did the laser part specifically, actually me building it with you guys. And then I might upload another behind-the-scenes video of the alternate ending to the stop motion, which of the dialogue I did record. This is actually, we recorded the dialogue all within one day. That's the last thing I wanted to tell you guys. I had the script, which I was reading the script as I filmed it. And then after I filmed it, I wrote we recorded the dialogue. I had already had it written. But one thing I definitely am going to do next time, guys, is record, if I do make another stop motion, and I learned this from Fancy Pants too, is record all of your dialogue before you start filming. Because then you can film to the dialogue. You can listen to the dialogue and then move the characters how you want them. You know how the emotion's going to be already, which is something I definitely, in hindsight, would have done. Where is the dialogue file? Yeah, here it is. So basically all I did was I just recorded each scene of dialogue so that I could then match it up. And here it is, guys, the alternate ending dialogue that I will eventually upload. But yeah, guys, once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through this video where I kind of jump all over the place. I have been Jake from Veli Productions, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.